Live. Just a moment. Zoom takes a second. Okay, and we're good to go.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you everyone for coming to the August 3rd Lacey Park Board Commissioners meeting. And so it is now 5:34 p.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And looking at the additions and deletions to the agenda, I don't have any. It sounds like Jen didn't have any, or does anyone else have any changes to the agenda they'd like to make today? All right, well, hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Awesome. All right. Moving on to number 3, which is announcement and introductions. I don't believe there's any, are there any announcements that you need to make, Jen, at this time?
Sarah was going to let us know what's going on with the youth council members. But first, do you want to go ahead and introduce?
Sure. I'll start. I'm virtual. I am Aaron Wheeler. I'm the board commissioner chair. And then Troy, you want to take it away from there?
Troy Kirby, Parks Board Commissioner.
Dave Weber, Parks Board Commissioner.
Wendy Goodwin, Parks Board Commissioner.
Perfect. All right. And then Sarah now, well, and then of course there's Sarah.
I'm the executive assistant, Parks, Culture, Recreation. I forgot to introduce myself too. It's fine.
Sarah's the only one that can't, as a commissioner, call Batman.
That's true, actually, I'm not allowed. So this is pretty simple. I know we had our youth commissioner, Declan, who was coming and hanging out with the council, reporting back to the youth council. And then he stopped coming because their terms only go for the school year. So it ends right when their school year ends. So that his, I believe it was the May meeting was his last meeting because the June meeting was after he'd already finished. On the 24th of this month, they already have 14 new youth council members. On the 24th, they're going to go through orientation. And then in September, we're going to give some presentations about the commissions and boards to them and let them know what we're all about. And they're going to deliberate over who's going to go on what commission. So we'll have a new youth commissioner in October of this year. So that's what's going on with youth council.
Great. Well, thank you, Sarah. That is a good announcement. I'm looking forward to meeting the new youth council member in the fall. Great. All right. So moving on to number 4, approvals and corrections of the July meeting minutes. Did any of the commissioners have any changes or comments they want to make about the previous meeting minutes? All right. Hearing none, I would like to make a motion to approve the July meeting minutes as written.
I'll second.
All in favor? Great. Okay, motion carries. Next on to correspondence. There was one correspondence that Sarah did email everyone before.
Sorry.
Oh,
Chair Wheeler. We
yes.
had one, we have public comments and we have correspondence. So
there is. Okay, you're right. There is. Oh, my apologies. Did I misread that?
Just skipped ahead a little bit so that we're on number 5 correspondence.
Yeah.
There were two items in the
there packet. Are two, okay, so there is one in our packet and then there's one that was sent to us just
2 in the packet.
Oh.
Sorry. It's okay.
Jen, is one of them the Facebook comment? Because it cuts off for me.
Okay, I think that's what I was. I think that's what I guess that is a secondary. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It cuts off for you. Okay, let me share my screen.
All it says is City of Lacey Cat. I think the word thank you and suggestion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let me make sure that you saw it. Let's see.
I just didn't know if I needed a triple word score or, like maybe I had to guess it in order to get that trip to Florida.
Just the word.
Okay, the first one, this is the first one, and this is from Commissioner Goodwin, actually, and it shows you her conversation with, we had maintenance weigh in on this one as well. And then, is it this one right here?
Yeah, I didn't see that. Is there a way to like zoom that or expand that? So
yes. Can you see this?
Could you do it bigger?
Yeah.
Enhance.
Is that big enough?
Yes. Enhance.
Okay. Yep. And then just a reminder that it's not a discussion at this point. It's just sharing.
Right. So yeah, so just and there was that email that with correspondence as well for everyone to review. That was sent earlier today.
I just couldn't see any of it. It just clipped it off. on the
Oh,
packet itself.
oh,
If you downloaded it, legit just has half a bubble, so.
Interesting.
Weird.
yeah, did that happen to everybody's packets? Just so we
My-
gotta make sure you guys are getting the
Mine
information.
downloaded just fine. I downloaded it and it was how you viewed it. So I'm not sure what.
Okay. Must have been just,
So you're saying it might be operator error, Aram? Thanks.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's a 2% rule, you know, you gotta be 2% smarter than the piece of equipment that you're trying to operate, and that this may or may not be the case. I don't know.
Okay.
All right, well, great. So moving on to number 6 then, citizen public comment. So was there anyone in the queue waiting to chat, or I don't see anyone there?
No, we don't have anyone in the queue, but we did receive a written public comment that I forwarded everybody earlier today. Like, I think I forwarded them all around 3:30 is the goal. So, okay, perfect. Did everyone have a chance to read it?
Oh, so I actually, maybe I'll just get some clarification. So what you emailed earlier was considered a citizen public comment and that's not a correspondence. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So that, yes.
yeah, so this is actually, so this is something new for the park board. And so, so 2 hour, what we advertise on at the very top of your agenda
Mhm.
is that 2 hours, prior to the meeting start time, excuse me. If there's any public comments that are submitted, this one came in through email, but we did set up a link on our website so that people could just send them there. But the person specified in their email that it was for public comment for tonight.
Okay.
So Sarah was able to forward that 2 hours prior to the meeting. And then what she's gonna do, so these would get forwarded to you, but not read at the meeting.
Okay.
And then she's going to file them into a file folder called public comment under our park board file. And that's where we save correspondence as well. So we'll have both the public comments and the correspondence items under each park board meeting in our files.
So
And
what
because
is
it's-
like the actual definition between, I mean, what is the defining line between something that's a correspondence and a public comment? Just for
Yeah,
clarity.
so let me, I'm gonna share my screen and go up to the top of our agenda here. Let's see. I will zoom in. Okay, can you guys all see this?
Mhm.
Okay. So there will be an option for public to indicate, so when a person from the public wants to register to come to the park board meeting, let's say virtually, there's an option to indicate whether they wish to speak during the public comment portion. After registering, they will receive a confirmation email containing information about joining the webinar. And then this shows the public may listen to the meeting via the phone number. And then it also says public comments may be submitted at, and this is our website. And there is a tab on the website where the public would go to make a public comment. So that's how you do it for park board. The city council has a separate email address that's called public comment. So that's how they differentiate. We don't have a separate email address. And so we created this tab that people could go to. So we know that if it comes through this portal, they're wishing to make a public comment. But like I indicated earlier, the email we got earlier today said public meeting for August 3rd, or public comment for August
Right.
3rd. So it was very clear to us that that was a public comment.
So in that case, if we're getting a written public comment, if is that published for anyone to be able to review that? Because I know like these are in our packet, but if it's a public comment, it would make me think that it's something that wanted to be stated in a public setting or wanted it to be addressed to everyone and it would be addressed at the meeting if it would. So this one that we received written beforehand, would it be like talked about at a future or how would we handle that public comment?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, if it's a written public comment, it means it gets forwarded to the park board members for them to read before the meeting, but it doesn't get read at the meeting. And
Okay.
it doesn't go into the packet because the packets have already gone out and the board's already reviewed them and everything. So and then on the other hand, if it's a correspondence, like anytime we get correspondence that's not specifically labeled as a public comment, it's just correspondence like the other pieces, we put it in the very next packet that's coming up. So,
Well-
right, so this one, I mean, the assumption is that people know the rules when they're sending them. So if you're
Mhm.
sending a public comment for a certain meeting, should know that it is going to get forwarded to all the commissioners, but it won't be read at the meeting.
But its intention is like, this is for the ears and now eyes of the board and not necessarily the public. Okay.
Well,
far
I
as-
mean, I guess I would also say that the person that wrote it also, because she's familiar with the thing, would probably know that, so. I mean.
Yeah,
the
I
idea
just-
that She wouldn't, I don't think she thought that it was gonna be read,
Right. I guess I'm just thinking like overall, like if someone comes to a meeting and like addresses, has their 3 minutes, addresses their issue, they have a forum that's not just us looking at it. It's now a part of record. It's like there other people, if they're viewing it, can hear that comment. But if it's written in, that secondary piece is not afforded to that comment. And I just don't know if that's.
Yeah, so she could have chosen to either log in and do it and address
True.
it that
Very good
way,
point.
or
Okay.
come in physically and address it that way. And she opted to send it as a public comment.
Okay.
And so that's where the written public comments do definitely go out to the board.
And
And
the
that's
state
the same-
legislature. but
Same
the state
process
legis-
as, I'm sorry, same process as city council too.
But the state legislature has also said that the reason that they don't really want a lot of the written comments is because you could write a book and have it be 20 minutes long or, 2 hours long compared to the 3 minutes you're supposed to give people or whatever. So I mean, that it's to also reduce the amount of time wasted.
True.
One over the other.
True. I just want to make sure it's the first time running into this, so I just want to make sure I was understanding it for future written public comments like this.
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked, because this is something that is different for the park board and the historical commission both. And so I really had to dive in and understand the difference myself, and Sarah and I have gone through it, and we tried to put as much detail in the top of the agenda here that you see
Mhm, mhm.
about it, to make sure that people understand how it works. So
Okay.
I appreciate you asking.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification.
And then Chair, what you choose to do with the, I know that there was a suggestion to you specifically in that course, that piece of public comment. And so that's up to you if that's something that you want to pursue as the chair.
All right, thank you for the suggestion.
Yeah.
All right, okay, well, moving on from number 6 to number 7, old business. And sub A, comprehensive plan, public engagement update.
All right, cool. So gosh, since we saw you last, there's been a lot of outreach going on. We're still working on the public engagement piece of the comprehensive plan update. And I believe Sarah was going to, we can talk a little bit about what's been going on, and then we just need to make sure that Sarah brings up the schedule of upcoming events. But the surveys are coming in, and it sounds like the outreach is going well. I know that Commissioner Goodwin has been, I think, at most of the dates. So if you are willing, Commissioner, you might want to tell your experience.
Yep, so I've attended all the performances, and I've been working with Byron and Sarah on a few of the days, getting all of the equipment ready, and the pads are really nice, but I think most of the community members like the QR code to scan that directly into their phones, and they can take the survey at their leisure. Some of them are giving us direct feedback. Of course, the spray parks are a big topic. One of the kids or a few of the kids there kept pointing at pictures, and they're like, I want one of those and I want one of those. So the spray parks and the indoor facilities, seeing all the what they could have, the kids are really engaged in it. So working with them on handing out frisbees and that kind of thing. Yeah, and the koozies. We did have a conversation, Sarah and I, about when we're handing out the playbook, there's a QR code on there, but we don't have a handout with the QR code on it. So if like these upcoming events that we have, if we could get a QR code that we could walk around, because we have a lot of elderly and we have a lot of parents who are trying to balance watching their children as they run through the parks. It'd be nice to have a QR code, maybe, you know, that we could just hand to them so they could scan that like we do the playbook. So that would be really helpful for me because I like walking around and talking a lot. So,
Okay.
those, that would
Yeah,
be.
actually, I think Sarah, you talked about putting that together already, didn't you?
Yeah, I have that, it's on my calendar to get that printed up and cut it. I'm gonna start doing the cutting on Friday.
Oh,
So I'm gonna
okay.
get everything ready, which means it should be done in time for the next event.
Oh, yay. Well, so will Byron bring those or?
Yeah, I'll have Byron bring them.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And then I did my little reviews for all of the performances that I've been at. It's been really great. And I have nothing but praise for the staff members who are running those events. They are phenomenal. Jeanette and Jordan. Is that Jordan? No, Jordy.
Yeah.
Jordy, Jeanette, Christy and Joey, they manage all of that beautifully. So I am so excited to work with all of them. And then having Byron and Sarah at the events as well for the survey is great. And Camber and I, our Commissioner Good and I also did Lacey Depot. So we had one of the events out there and I had some issues for that survey because I don't really believe that the Depot District is really ready to handle performances. It was blazing hot out there. I mean, it was pretty intense. So we didn't have a lot of survey feedback for the Depot one that we did. But yeah, if we could, there's no trees out there, you're in the gravel, the high brush, the grass, it was pretty intense. So I'm not sure if Lacey Depot is really ready at this time to be holding performances. I know it's kind of a intro, but even the vendors were pretty unhappy, or shouldn't say unhappy. We were all happy because we got to sing and dance, but it was pretty intense with the heat and gravel. But yeah, I think it's going really well and I'm looking forward to the upcoming ones that I get to do. So with the survey and working with Byron again. Does that work?
Yes, thank you so much. On the Lacey Depot note, real quick, we do have some shade sails coming in to go over the outdoor tables. Those were delayed in getting installed because of supply chain issues and delays. So hopefully that will help. And then I just wanted to mention that our next portion of outreach, we're really focusing next on over the next 2 months. We want to get to those sports user groups. So Sarah's working with our athletic staff to really make sure we get to the right venues to ask the right people, because it's a little bit more niche. Not everybody uses our sports fields. So we've been doing like a lot of the broad outreach, but we really need to get to those sports users and find out, what are they getting turned away from, and not being able to get out onto the fields. So we will be working on that. And then also, just making sure we get our diversity of outreach in and make sure we're getting out to all the stakeholders in the community. So that's really all I had on that one. Do you have the schedule, Sarah?
Yes, I do.
We pull open and
And share screen really quick. So
a few more opportunities.
Yep. Oh, share the wrong screen because of course I didn't. Wait, no, where'd you go?
It says screen sharing, but I don't see anything yet.
Oh, hang on, something weird happened. I don't know what's going on. I'm so sorry. I had it open. It says it's open in a tab, but it's definitely not open in a tab.
Do you want me to try?
That might be, oh, hang on. Okay, let me try it again real quick. I think something happened with the email. It's very weird. Okay, there we go. All right, can you see that okay?
Yes.
All right, so we have done a lot of these. Friday, August 5th, I'm gonna have those cards ready. We're doing Culture Shock from 6:30 to 8:30 over at Huntemer. It's gonna be Byron, not me. Just got that updated. And then Wendy was so kind to volunteer and come to that as well. And then we're also gonna do a Woodland Creek Park canvassing. So we're kind of gonna go be out there in the park, and the goal is to just set up a tent, set up a space, invite everyone to come hang out from 10 to 12 on Saturday the 13th. And that's got Wendy, Cameron, and Dave signed up to come help with that. And then Wonderwood Park, we're gonna do the same thing on the 20th from 1:30 to 3:30. And that's gonna be, I believe it's me because Byron's out of town. And then Wendy has volunteered to help with that one as well. If anyone else wants to also come, that's great. And Serial Saver, and I always forget. So we also have the STEAM Museum, which is coming up on Thursday, the 25th from 1 to 3:30 at the Lacey Community Center. Byron's going to be at that one with Wendy as well. And then these are those sporting events that we're waiting to get good dates for. I've already spoken with Doug Briggs, who's one of our new coordinators. He's fantastic. He said he's got a wealth of knowledge. He's gonna put it all together for me, and he'll let me know dates.
Okay.
And then we're also gonna be at the Panorama Wellness Fair from 1 to 3. And then Gary's gonna come with me and help me out with that. That's on September 8th on Thursday. And then we also have some plans to get notices out to the schools. Public Affairs is helping me put together some lists of contacts. They're gonna get some things sent over to me, and then we've translated the survey into, I think, 5 languages. So it's available in 5 different languages now, which is pretty cool. And we're gonna be doing a little bit more outreach, and Public Affairs is also gonna be posting on the Facebook and social media accounts that it's available in other languages too. So hopefully we can increase some of our diversity of our survey takers. And that's pretty much what we're working on. That's it.
Just out of curiosity, what are the languages?
It's Spanish, Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, English, and I think it might be 4 languages, not 5. Let me just double check. Projects, interface, let me see.
And just to be curious.
Yes, oh, it's 5, okay.
And just to be curious, would those languages be the more predominant ones?
Yes,
Are in this area?
they are.
Okay.
Yes, so it's English, Spanish, Chinese, Vietnamese, and Korean are our 5 languages.
And what we'll do, so Sarah has been the point person to make sure and email commissioners when they have an event coming up, to make sure you know where you're going and what time. And then, Sarah, if you could also send out the dates once we get those sports complex dates
Yes.
for September, and then we can, because we don't have our next meeting obviously till September 7th for park
Yeah.
board. So, great.
Jen, how long are we going to do the survey? I mean, how far out does this go?
Yeah, so our outreach is scheduled to go through the end of September. We do have some wiggle room. So if there's, if there's a population or an event that we just don't want to miss, we can definitely talk about it.
Is there the possibility of putting up signs with QR codes so people can maybe do it on their phone? Or is it all, they have to come to us?
I could print and laminate things. I enjoy using the laminator.
Yeah, last year when we did the Parks Outreach Project, we did have some signs made up with some QR codes, and we put them out in some park locations. That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, that was just done for stuff at the Thurston Fair. And I think it actually got a good response. Because I mean, I hate to use COVID, but some people just don't feel comfortable being, close to people for long term that they don't know. So.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. Thanks for that reminder. We have been pushing it out with social media and also our email newsletter. So we have had digital options as well. But what I like about the signs with the QR code is they can actually be out there physically, but we're not there, and they can just
Yeah. Constantly having a table. Okay, yeah, I can put something together. I think we have some flyers already with the QR code for the survey that I can probably print out larger copies of and bring to parks, laminate them.
Yeah, and if there's more events going on, Commissioner Good, I know she's not here, but I had my volunteer shirt on and she didn't have one. So she asked if there was identifiers for us who are working in the booth. like when we're out handing things out and talking to people, there was a lot of questions like, who are you? What
Yeah.
are, because we're just in our regular clothes. We're
Yeah.
not in the pink staff city of
Okay.
Lacey.
Yeah, so Sarah, you want to talk to Jenny Wilson. She's our volunteer contact for our department, so.
Thank you.
Can do.
Give me a big shirt.
All right, can do. You guys get them shirts going. Who doesn't want a shirt?
I think that's it on that one.
You're muted.
Mute, okay. All right, so that moves over to 7B, Greg Cuyo Park Phase 1A update.
Okay, I do have quite a bit of information on this one. We are still somewhere between the 30 and 60% design phase and working our way toward full construction documents. September 7th is the scheduled submittal from the consultant to the city for like a formalized 30% review. So even though they're working on that, they're still working toward the 60%, 90% as well. Multitasking, if you will. We did set the final trail alignments. So this is in your packet and I'm going to share my screen. Can you guys see this okay?
Mhm.
So you'll see these are the trail alignments. See these lines here? And the reason this is important is because this is going to help us set the cost and make sure that we have good circulation routes. One thing, I believe I mentioned this to you before, we ended up having the main trail start up here rather than down here because of the disc golf holes. This is going to be more of a it might be like a wood chip type trail. And most of the people that use this are going to probably be disc golfers. Although that said, it doesn't mean that anyone, I mean, it doesn't mean that anyone can't go out there. Like everybody can use it. It's just that the fact that we had to add 1, 2, 3, 4 disc golf holes in this area, it just made it easier to kind of have the more formalized trail be up further north. And so what's not updated on this map and is now updated since your packet went out is that you can see disc golf hole 1 here and then 2. 1 actually, because the playground's right here, 1 will not tee off anywhere behind this point. So it will be moved up here. And then this orange is the future phase of a cross-country meet and route. And so the understanding with the disc golf group is that eventually these will have to be shifted once that course goes in, but we do know it'll be several years before that will happen. So it's nice that that space will get used in a different way.
I'm looking at that and I kind of assumed it was for the cross country, but it's very like geometric. I can see like the loop over there. Like what do like the dashes and is that just like the scope of the area or what does that represent?
Yeah, so we needed this to be for the starting area, a certain width. And so
Nice.
yeah, and so what they're showing here is just the fact that it needs to be super wide for the starters, but then as they run, they kind of
okay.
stagger, and so
Yeah.
it needs to be a certain length. But they start to, spread out
Okay, yeah.
in a
Sorry.
linear way.
Okay.
Yeah, and so this just kind of shows you how, like once the runners start, it kind of works as a funnel,
Okay.
if you will, and then by the time they get here, they can be like single file, and so then they go out and around the retention pond and
Okay.
around the garden area and come and they loop back in. Oh, whoops. So, and basically, and then there's a certain amount of space that's needed for a finish area, and that's what this is indicating here.
Okay. Cool. All right. Thank you for
Yeah.
clarifying that.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you recall, but it's been a while since we talked about it, but with the cross-country course, what they do is they take this main shape. It's important for a cross-country meet to have the main shape of the course be out in the open. But they can do different lengths, different distances of races by, doing just this half or adding on this half. And so they can do multiple routes. And then we did talk about like with a fun run, not necessarily a formalized cross-country meet, you can do fun runs in any of the trails. So there's a lot more space for that type of activity.
Right on.
So, but what I want to show you here is the trail alignments are set, but the disc holes are not 100% set, but they're basically like, at this point, we know the general area where they're going to be. Like, we know that there's one that can fit between these trail alignments. And so the disc golf group is still going to be finessing the exact route. But this has been a really important step right here to have everything surveyed and to know, like I said, where the main trail alignments are going to be. And this is really exciting. We didn't think that we could like go in between this wetland at all. But it looks like we can do like basically a dirt trail through the middle. No disc golf through here, but people can walk through here. So that's kind of nice to be able to do, you know, kind of like an hourglass shape.
Yeah, it leaves it open where you can go multiple times and not walk the same way twice. That's great.
Yeah, and we thought it would be too wet or it would be part of the buffer zone, but because in the beginning the consultants were real conservative with that buffer, it turned out that we could squeeze it in a little bit more. So that's kind of cool.
Great.
And then, so we did talk this through with the disc golf group. We also have been having preliminary conversations about the Santa Can enclosure, the picnic shelter, the monument sign, and the playground, but the consultants really want to focus right now on the 30% design cost so that we know moving forward, because we started to talk about picnic shelters and like the enclosures and what all architecture would go into that. And, you know, there's some nuances that could drive the price up. And so we thought it's super important just to really focus on what that 30% cost is going to be so that we can go from there and see how much there is to work with. We confirmed the permits that are needed. We confirmed that the easy form was submitted to the Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation by the subconsultant. So this is important for our grant application and also for the cultural resources review process. We set some crucial dates. And so HPB, the consultants are coming to your next two meetings. So September 7th and October 5th, they'll be here. And we are actually doing a meeting with the adjacent neighbors to the phase 1A development. You know, to this point, we did the open houses with the general public. And now we're going to really drill down, because if you see, there's some homes right in here that aren't too terribly far from the disc golf course, you know, as the crow flies. So we really want to make sure that these homeowners know exactly what's going in and what the distances are from their property. And then we'll also be inviting, so the September 14th is going to be a targeted neighbor meeting. So we'll do a direct mail and it will be to the adjacent to phase 1A. So in other words, not, you know, the east side of Carpenter, there's lots of neighbors over on that side, but we're not developing over there. So we're really focusing on this area. So it'll be these adjacencies here, the ones like right across the street. In fact, we'll probably invite all the way on Carpenter. There's not very many. So we'll just invite all the way up to that intersection where it meets Durham Road. So that's the 14th. And then we're doing another general public open house to update the bigger public, broader public on September 28th. And then there is a city council work session update on October 27th. So yeah, lots happening with phase 1A. And I wanted to share, I'm not going to go through in detail, but I had promised to show you like the grant applications. I resubmitted and Sarah helped with that. So thank you, Sarah, after technical review. And then, so I'm working on updating the presentations and I'll give those again on August 22nd and August 24th. And this will be the last time for the presentations. But I wanted to show you guys these renderings are really cool that the consultant provided. So this is, like I said, I'm not going to go through the whole presentation. It's 12 minutes long, but this kind of shows you what in our application process, what we do. We show the statewide location, the regional location. We show the project boundary. We show the need as it's identified in our plans. We show the health and the public need We show the service area. We talk about the project scope. We show kind of phase 1 compared to future phases. We talk about environmental values. And then we look into the project design. So this is the part I want to show you. So this is before. I don't think I showed this to you yet, did I? Okay, so this is before and this is after. So this is the rendering of the main area of phase 1A. Isn't that cool? And then I go into like the different components of phase 1A, you know, the playground, the shelter, the fact that there's a lot of natural trails and open space. And then this is the other rendering. So this kind of shows you where the view is from up here. And they took an actual photo of the forest and then did this
Photoshop people in.
and then did put the people in there. I don't know if it's Photoshop, whatever program they use. It just kind of shows like the multi-use, right? We show the cost estimate. We talk about ecological factors. So these up here are all the grant categories that you report out on. We talk about sustainability. We talk about economic factors. They ask if it's an expansion or a renovation. This is an expansion. They talk about project support, board support. We talk about the outreach and how the outreach supports, you know, the project. These are those signs, Troy,
Yep.
that we were just talking about. We talk about the public meetings specifically for this project. And then we talk about the different, the other plans that the public were involved with as well. We talk about group supports in the community, media support for the project. We talk about cost efficiencies, and that's basically the grant presentation in a nutshell. But it's going to look different. I'm trying to make it more simplified and less busy. So I've changed like all the slides to a solid background color.
Missing Comic Sans as well, if I can just make one, yeah, one suggestion. No, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us, Jen. I like seeing the rendering too. That was great. Was there anything else that you had for the Greg Cuyo phase 1A update?
I don't. I'd be happy to answer questions, but I'm really excited that the consultants will be here the next 2 meetings. So they'll have a lot more they'll be able to answer a lot more technical questions.
Okay. Commissioners, anyone have any questions for Jen at this time about it? All right.
Yes, I appreciate the update.
Awesome. All right. So moving on to 7C, park shelter rental policies, actionable item.
Yes. Okay. So we had brought this one last meeting. It needed a little work, and you had some suggestions. And so we hopefully incorporated everything that the board wanted, and we are looking for approval. Can you guys see this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It could be, can it be one more bigger?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Is that better?
That's perfect. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, you bet. Yeah, so hopefully you had a chance to review. It's in your packet. And these were the changes that we had talked about.
Yeah. Any park commissioners have any comments on this before anyone makes a motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring up a small detail. I shouldn't do this, but I'm gonna bring up a small detail that maybe we missed. It's not one of the changes that was made. Number 4, under facility use guidelines, says canopies, measuring, et cetera, but it doesn't say if you're only allowed 1, or can you bring up multiple canopies? Because I can see where that might get a little hectic if somebody brought 4 or 5 of those out there.
Oh yeah, canopies measuring up to 10 by 10 are allowed and must be weighted down. We don't actually specify how many. It hasn't, to my knowledge, it hasn't been an issue.
That's a problem. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it then. That's the only little nitpick that I had. All the other changes look good.
I guess the thing is, you know, it says shelter users should understand that parking, you know, is limited and can be a challenge. Do they really understand? Is there any kind of checkbox that you can make them do on the application that says, I understand that things are gonna be hectic? I mean, the problem we're having is that we're booking tournaments and somebody's decided that their shelter use is equal to that of a 150-person tournament.
So we do have prompts in our, these are all done online on
Yeah.
lacyparks.org. And so not a bad idea to have a prompt.
That's fine. I just, you know, like
Yeah.
that kind of thing of, you know, and if there is if they're reserving certain dates, wouldn't we know that in advance with the big tournaments, that maybe that's another prompt saying, this is a big tournament, you know? Like,
Yeah, so we, you know, I feel like we talked through that quite a bit last time, and it would be a little difficult because there are so many different events that can happen. So let's take Woodland Creek Park for an example. You've got the senior center, the community center, you've got the disc golf course, the junior course there. You have open play on just the park stuff. Senior center, community center, park shelters. And so it's hard to know. It's hard to know actually how many people are going to be using the parking lot.
yeah, but is that really comparable to what we're talking about? I mean, we're talking about
for
the
the rack.
I mean, the rack specifically, but you know, it's much like, and I know that this might not seem like it would even be an issue, but it's like somebody deciding to reserve something for July 3rd at Rainier Vista, and then getting upset when, you know, why are all these other people here and blocking out the parking lot? Well, we happen
Yeah,
to have a giant, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so for July 3rd, we do block everything out. We black it out. You know, I feel like when we talked it through before, it was kind of like, well, sometimes there's events in the soccer complex, sometimes there's in the baseball, and sometimes there's both, and it might just be too time consuming. I feel like the conversation was that people should just know that these are really busy park sites and that their parking might be a struggle and they may just have to walk a little bit farther. Because we still want to be able to make those shelters available to people. I think that's why we landed on just make sure everybody understands that parking is a challenge. And I do like your idea about the prompt. I think that's
Yeah.
something that we could do to help them. But if we start blacking out whenever there's tournaments, I don't know. I think that I
Do
feel
we
like-
get a frequency of absolute complaints about this, or is this mainly a small isolated incident of complaints of people not understanding that there are massive tournaments?
To my knowledge, we don't get a lot of complaints about this.
Okay.
That said, I do, from my perspective, I do think it's important to help people understand. And as we get busier, you
Well,
know,
what I'm saying is, so the prompt is probably enough. You know, that the prompt that you're talking about is probably,
in my opinion, that is.
yeah. So, but I mean, if it becomes an issue, maybe we revisit it.
Does that sound good for everyone? Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I think you could just do sufficient on-site parking may not be available for shelter users and guests. We kind of take out all that other. It's a little wordy, but I got the meaning.
Oh, take out the purple portion.
Yeah, and just say sufficient on-site parking may not be available for shelter users and their guests. And just leave it at that so that they don't have, like, understanding that there's limits and challenges is going to come with that. When you just say sufficient on-site parking may not be available for shelter users and their guests.
Yeah, it doesn't, that's an excellent suggestion, because it doesn't, with the other verbiage, it kind of apologizes for it, and it's not
Yeah, and it
It's
should.
not really something we need to be doing.
Yeah, we don't have to apologize, or yeah, we don't have to apologize for not having it there. We just don't have it, so it's a limitation. But that would be my suggestion, is to make it less wordy, and it's saying it's not available. It may not be there, making it simpler.
It pops up with a graphic of somebody laughing at you.
Yeah, where all the cars are stuck in there and you're trying to see, we don't have enough, you gotta. Yeah,
Troy, do you agree with that?
I'm fine with that. My thing is if this is a huge problem, that's one thing. If it's a small problem, I think a prompt is fine. And if it becomes a big problem, then we can readdress.
All right, well then I'll make a motion to approve the, how would I word this? The policy and procedure for, park shelter reservations, as amended.
I'll second it.
Woo.
Get my name in the end.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Dave's been saving that one up.
You get in the minutes, you gotta get in the minutes at least once a week. So.
Name's gonna pop up.
All right. Okay, we're changing lives here. All right, number 8, 8A, Open Public Meeting Act, Park Board rule change, actionable item.
Okay, thank you. This is the one that, again, we had brought last week. It wasn't quite ready. But I think that the changes that are made here before you are adequate. We added the line, all commission meetings will allow for remote attendance by board members and or the public. And the line above that counts for the in-person portion. And then going down to the very last page. So this is to your point earlier, or to your questions earlier, just clarifying that members of the public may submit written comments at least 2 hours prior to the start of the meeting from the Lacey Parks website. These will be sent to commissioners prior to the meeting, but will not be read during the meeting. And then that members of the public may also submit hard copy or emailed correspondence. These communications will be included in the next available park board packet under correspondence. So again, this is patterned after the city council process.
Perfect. Any comments from the commissioners?
Looks good to me.
Yeah, it was good for me.
All right, well, I've been hogging the first motion, so I'm gonna give someone else the opportunity to
Okay,
make the motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this document as written.
I'll second.
They get Wendy in there once.
You guys are hilarious.
Sorry, Aaron, but according to Robert's Rules of Order, you cannot have fun while you're doing it.
Oh, gosh darn it, okay. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, great. Change of lives. All right, what do we got next? We got 8B, Young Child and Family Center of Lacey. Families Center of Lacey.
Yeah, so I do want to give you an update, and I'm actually going to show you a presentation that was made at the last city council work session. So this is a work plan item for the park board, which is on there as, I think it's feasibility for the Young Child and Family Center. This is something that has been accelerated by the school district, and the YMCA is very anxious as well. I would have hoped to have given you guys this update last meeting, but things are moving pretty quickly, so I'm doing my best to keep up. And I will share this with you, and I'm also going to be sharing at tomorrow's council meeting, because there's an MOU, and the reason it's going before council instead of park board is because it's an interlocal agreement. And so council approves the interlocals. I want to make sure that park board is definitely in the loop. So let me pull this open here. Oops. How'd I have it? One sec. So I have this all ready for tomorrow night, so I'm just going to use the same one. Can you guys all see this?
Yes.
Okay, so basically, the MOU would set in motion a feasibility study for this type of a center. Which would lay the groundwork for a partnership that can potentially make something like this happen. And so with the history of, I think you are all familiar that the city and the school district has been actually working together and trying for years to come up with a plan to activate the Bucknell or Nisqually site, which is owned by the school district. The YMCA has expressed over and over the desire to serve the Lacey community in a bigger way. The city council helped with a feasibility study for a traditional YMCA. Now, this is different than that, but back in 2017, they did a feasibility for a YMCA in Lacey, and it came back favorable that yes, that's something that is desired. And then add in a really critical early learning gap. And this is why and you'll see why in a minute here, why the school district is very anxious for something like this to happen. But those are the reasons that the three agencies came to the same table to evaluate the feasibility of a young child and family center. So this is the piece. So one of their big goals is success in the early years, and the school district is trying to educate about the benefits of early learning for kids ages 3 to 5 and the importance of involving the whole entire family support system in that early learning. So they report, these are the actions they've taken, but it's not quite enough, as at least 300 kids in Lacey are not being served. So they already have 3 early learning centers at these schools. They have a different early learning program at Seven Oaks Elementary. They've expanded their ECAP slots. They're partnering with a preschool co-op, and they provide a site for Head Start. And even all of that is not actually enough. So there is a critical need for early learning, and then also indoor recreation resources, which you all are pretty familiar with all the outreach we've been doing. But the demand for high quality childcare programs has outpaced industry growth for several years, and then it was made worse with COVID. The Washington State Department for Children, Youth, and Families reports that the vast majority of North Thurston Public Schools service area falls within an extreme childcare desert. Childcare access desert. And so this type of need, calls for a multi-agency approach for us to form creative partnerships and consider innovative solutions to fulfill the unique needs of kids both in and outside the classroom. And then, like I said, you're familiar with the 2021 outreach that showed indoor aquatics and other indoor recreation spaces coming in at the top for public express local need. And I'll have some photos in here too. But the YMCA reports they're uniquely positioned to and they have a desire, like I said earlier, to better serve Lacey. So the partners have been putting their heads together to come up with innovative solutions, talking about how important in and outside the classroom learning is. And if we were able to combine a learning center with family recreation focus, we could both fill the educational gap and create opportunities for well families, which results in a well community. We all understand in Parks and Rec the importance of aquatic safety education too, starting at an early age. And so considering the best use of that Nisqually property that the school district already owns, and understanding that typically students begin and end their learning along with the hours of the day, but couldn't we partner to extend that learning day with some of the recreational opportunities for families? So this is a potential of what could go in. This is an aerial view of Nisqually site and some of the potential that we can see. So I think you guys are familiar with where it is. Here's Nisqually Middle School down here. Here's Marvin Road. But the facility could provide early learning classrooms that would be equipped to serve up to 600 students annually in full day programs. The center could also have family-friendly spaces for parenting classes and other organizations that could have space related to health and well-being. This could include an on-site medical partner, mental health services, and community-based resources. And then the recreation components could be a pool, an indoor playground, and other opportunities for family-based physical activities. And then outside, it could include a spray park and potentially an outdoor adventure playground. So it is a huge financial lift. This 71 million includes the 4 million of the property value that the district already owns. And so what this indicates is just an early site plan of what it could be. The early learning center portion could be 45,000 square feet of this footprint. The public use 25,000. So that's the pool and indoor playground portion. That accounts for 23 classrooms and the spray park area, and then hoping to fit an adventure playground. If the whole thing is feasible, that's what this feasibility would kick off. Here's some photos of some of the things we've been hearing from people of what they want to see and have, like the warmer temperature play opportunities indoors. Here's some photos of an indoor playground. That's obviously not a water feature, but this is at Star Center in Metro Parks Tacoma. And this is open air, but it could also be closed off if that was the decision. This is the Renton Early Learning Center. They have indoor play with outdoor play right outside the garage doors that open up. And then this is back at Metro Parks Tacoma at Star Center. They have this spray park. It's very simple, but it's super packed during the summer. There's water that comes out of all these things. So next steps would be approval of the MOU, and I put the MOU in your packet as well. And what that does is express the intent and commitment for the partners to work together for the holistic benefit of the community. So this is something that could really have a sustained impact on the life outcomes of children and families, including increased high school graduation and college completion rates and increased well-being and health. So the initial partnership of the three agencies would help leverage to connect with other partners, such as the military, which it's looking like there are some funding opportunities if we can work with JBLM, and then potentially a medical provider as well, the Economic Development Council and other essential partners. And then, as you know, as board members, we are still confirming public priorities and seeking further insights in preparation for the 2023 Parks, Culture, and Recreation Comprehensive Plan. But as we know, initial feedback shows indoor aquatics and recreation opportunity as the top express local need. So that is what's going on with the Young Child and Family Center concept. And what I like about it, this potential project addresses the indoor pool, indoor playground, access to natural areas, and spray park considerations, which are all in the summary final report from last year's outreach. And then also in our recommendations is begin exploring potential implementation options and partnerships. So it just, it kind of ties everything that we're doing together. And then I wanted to share with you too, there's also a national trend toward wellness hubs for the family. That's not, it's not just a pool, but it's got resources for the family and taking that holistic approach.
Great. Thank you, Jen. Looks like, yeah. And then next we have 8C, the Mullen Road Habitat Adjacent Property Donation.
Are we allowed to ask questions on the MOU?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I should have checked with the commissioners before I moved on.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, ask away.
So I had a couple of questions about the roles and responsibilities. I had a question about the additional programming portion of that, where it says where to provide financial or personnel for the facility. Is that part of our Park and Rec's responsibility to do programming for that, or are we just overseeing with the financial aspect of the $50,000? Or up to $50,000?
Yeah, so, no, that's a great question. So this is, for now, it is that financial, support of up to $50,000 each agency for the feasibility piece. And that's what's really gonna break down like the different, they call it the funding stack of where, what are all the buckets, where funding could come from. And so what the number 5 is alluding to is that, or referring to, I should say, it's just showing that the parties are committed to figuring out what those roles might be in the future. So it's kind of it's just setting the groundwork for, how we're going to work together moving forward. It doesn't outline exactly what role each agency is going to play. I mean, we do know that the schools will be responsible for the academic piece, and then the Y and the city Parks Department would have to figure out, how we fit into that scenario.
So ours would be the programs basically. Are we looking at maybe the programs being part of what our responsibility would be as far as the Lazy Park and Rec?
It could be, or it could be that in working with the partners, it makes more sense for the YMCA just to run all the programming. And maybe the city does the outside stuff like the spray park and the adventure park or something. So that's what we'll have to, once we determine if it's feasible.
Yeah, and kind of move from that
A
point.
huge, that's a
Yeah,
huge.
because I was just thinking if you're hiring, who's going to be doing the hiring for the different programs that you put into place? And then the monetary part of it, if it's going to be divided amongst the 3, are we charging a fee for people to use this facility, or is this a community-based center and it's going to be just managed? And I have a feeling that there would be some financial responsibilities to the community as well for this to move forward, because it seems like a big project. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, all that is to be determined still. Those are great questions and considerations.
And then I would have another question, for our low income families and those kind of things, are those needs going to be met for them as well? Because I know it says childcare and these are being provided, but I had quite concerns about making sure that it's available for our low income families as well.
Yes.
That they play a say in what they need for their family members. I know the childcare part is really important, but also that it's affordable for them.
Yes, absolutely. That'll be considered. It's come up multiple times in the meetings. I know the Y is always really quick to point out that they don't turn anybody away for scholarships. So although they do charge fees, they've been mentioning in the meetings that they're accommodating. So yeah, that'll be hugely, I mean, we want it to be there for the community, so it needs to be affordable to them.
That was all. I just want to make sure that those were addressed on the
Yeah.
roles and how that's going to with that partnership moving forward, and the feasibility, the financial aspect, and then, whose responsibilities for those burdens that are not burdens, but cost and assessments as they go forward. Want to make sure it's available to everybody if that's something that we move forward with. Thank you.
Great. All right, so moving on to 8C, the Mullen Road property.
Oh, yes. Okay, I'm gonna pull up a map here. So this is an interesting scenario that doesn't happen every day, or to my knowledge, hasn't ever happened. At least in Lacey, but kind of creative. So can you guys see this?
Yes.
This is the current Mullen Road Habitat Reserve. So there's a 20-acre parcel that's right here next to the preserve, or excuse me, the reserve. And this is not a City of Lacey development project. This is a Thurston County development project. But basically the developer, to fulfill his open space obligation to the county, had the idea to donate the 20 acres because it's right next to an already park property. And it's very similar terrain. It's just, it'll be just an additional portion to the reserve. So to donate that to the City of Lacey Parks rather than to Thurston County wasn't interested in receiving the property and didn't really have the means to do that. And so they worked out that to fulfill the obligation to the county, they could donate it as open space to the city, as long as there was, the city agreed to take it as long as there's no like timeline is or specifics as far as like development of this property, like as long as we can just leave it as a natural reserve. So I put some information in your packet. And at this point, I'm just waiting for the deed.
So none of this is an actionable item though, right? Okay.
I mean, and then what would we just have, would it just be part of the habitat reserve at that point? There would be no.
Yeah, maintenance went out and took a look at it. There are some hazard trees that they would need to drop. But it's not something that, like, there's no housing around it, which makes it a little bit easier because the trees can be dropped and just kind of go back to the natural environment. You know, it's good for the soil. If those trees are hazards anyway, and they're going to fall anyway. So that was really the extent. There was some poison oak, but the city, it's interesting, the city had actually already posted a sign that said poison oak. And so that already had been taken care of.
Can we use this land to like mitigate for, you know, environmental issues? You know, if we're trying to develop other land, can we use it to mitigate?
Will that displace all of the mosquitoes that are out there, especially on the lower level of Emberley?
Just make
Take it
it.
you've been out there.
Yeah. Used to get chewed up as a kid.
I don't, okay, so for mitigation, that's an interesting question.
And I don't need an answer. It was just
Okay.
it was just curiosity. No, don't. Yeah, you don't have to go through it.
Potentially. I don't have a quick answer for that one.
That's fine.
Aaron, don't go down the gopher hole. We don't need that.
Not, you know, I'm always thinking about that gopher. I'm always, you know, like, hey,
So is it going to be, I know it'll be added into that reserve. Are there plans for it to make it are there trails and things that they're going to put in there? Or is it just gonna be?
So potentially in the future. So right now, it's difficult. I mean, as you know, and we've talked about this a little bit before too, like when projects come in sideways, right, at us when it's not on the work plan and we're busy doing other projects that are already on the work plan. So there are some just natural trails that are in there. And so it would just remain how it is right now. But it is absolutely a future opportunity to make improvements too, if there were funding available and if it were on the work plan. So it's kind of one of those future vision things.
Okay. Yeah, but it is sequestered, so that's good. You just have it. You just got a little land in your pocket.
Yeah, I think it's something that makes sense. I mean, it's you know, it should be natural space and it's right next to the habitat already. So yeah, I think it's a pretty cool opportunity.
great. Thank you, Jen. All right, so that moves on to your director's report.
The only items I have are 9C and 9H. Sue provided me with some information since she couldn't be here tonight. Question is, where did I put it? Swim lessons are full with a wait list. T-ball is going to come to an end this Thursday and Friday for the league. Day camps have been operating completely full. There's 2 more weeks of camp. And she reports that Lacey in Tune concert series is coming to an end with just a few more weeks left as well. So yeah, just a few more weeks left of summer programming. Fall registration is September 14th, right, Sarah? So staff have been, you know, while summer has been going on, staff have been preparing the programs for fall. So we'll be reporting out on fall programs next time. Hopefully Sue will be able to join us for that. But yeah, so it's a good summer. The parks are busy and the programs are busy, so.
Great. And then so you have some for 9H as well.
Yeah, so Jamie is out of the office this week, but he wanted me to include the vandalism report for you. Vandalism is up, it's in your packet. Would you guys like me to share the screen on that one?
You-
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
I get it.
yeah, we saw it. You can show.
Let's see.
It was pretty wild, just in 1 month. When I first saw it, my brain was like, oh, that's 1 year, you know, the 15th. I'm like, no, that's 1 month.
And how does the finance on that work? Like the thefts for people lost $5,000. Is that a responsibility first, or is that just you personal? You-
Well, I would think the
Which-
theft, is that like a park property that was stolen? Like I was thinking like if like one of the boxes for Little League or something like that, or was it actual
Oh, let me see.
theft of an individual?
Okay, and I might have to get back to you if I don't have all the answers. Let's see. Yeah, this was for 1 month. Can you guys see this?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Oh, I see. Are you rounding up to 5,000 here?
yeah, I just.
So that's labor costs.
Yeah, so labor, yeah, so it's broken down. So yeah, he's breaking down how much staff time and materials, and then yeah, value stolen is from the Parks Department. And so our insurance doesn't cover the small stuff. So it's basically if there's something that we need to replace, then we just we have to replace it out of the budget. So these items come out of the park maintenance budget, but you can see how it can add up if that's just 1 month, right?
Right, yeah, that's concerning.
So my
It is,
curiosity,
and he said, you know, in the beginning of the summer, it was interesting because vandalism and theft slowed down during COVID, right? During the 2 years. And so in the beginning of the summer, we were talking about, okay, it's comparable to 2019. But now at this point in the summer, he's like, no, it's definitely up from 2019. So it is very concerning. And one of the reasons we've added, you know, extra security cameras in the parks.
Is it a,
So.
well, I guess you probably don't have much more information on what would be the scope of the vandalism and thefts and graffiti. But
I
Holman-
don't, he
That's-
has,
it's-
I mean, he's sent pictures before, he'll do picture updates and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So if there's other stuff that you guys want to see, we can definitely ask him to provide that.
my question, and I think the other two commissioners are saying the same thing, is how does Homan get so high on there? I know the Rack and Rainer Vista, because there's all the sports going on, you figure there's gonna be a little more trouble, but Homan was kind of a neighborhood park, in my opinion. I mean, why is it?
Probably
Yeah.
least
Holman-
used.
Yeah, so Holman is a busy place. I mean, there's
Yeah.
sports fields, there's, you know, basketball courts, there's picnic areas,
Okay.
playground, there's restroom. So I think it's the restrooms have taken the hardest hit at Holman.
Okay,
Because
whatever
it can be
reason.
so off the beaten path. I can see that being a place people go
Yeah.
to at night. you
yeah, I
know,
mean, it's really close to my house and I don't know that much about it. I
It's
don't
gonna
go
tuck
through that
back
too
in
often.
there. It's
Yeah.
pretty
Now you
crowded.
got to start patrolling it, man.
I guess, huh?
Yeah.
I opened my mouth, said I live close by now. I
Got to
gotta
start our own COP, Citizens on Patrol.
He's gonna have a spotlight.
Yeah,
freeze turkey.
yeah, floodlights coming on.
It is, it is frustrating, you know, we really just want people to help take care of our facilities, but it's just, you know, it's not just us, it's a problem everywhere. And I think that Jamie just wanted you to be aware of it, so.
It's
I mean, how does this compare though to some other communities? Because to be perfectly honest, some places I've lived, this would probably be good.
That would be great in some.
That's
You know,
true.
but- So I'm wondering, is this terrible or is it like typical for a city of our size or what?
I think it's pretty typical for cities of our size, so I don't have any data on that, but I do go to a lot of different parks. And I, you know, I see what I see, and I think that we do pretty well here in Lacey. But
Yeah.
again, I don't have a lot of data on that, but if I'm at a conference and I hear information on that, I'd be happy to share it with you.
Thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
All right, number 10, any commissioners have anything they would like to report?
Saturday, I catered the Cider Fest that was at Hunterman Park. Justin did a great job, by the way, both with myself as well as the hosts. We had about 400 or 500 people there. I don't know the total count, but I know it was up there in 100-degree weather, no issues.
Gosh.
No, well, we also did have 2 cooling trailers, so if there was somebody that, you know, had those issues, we had plenty of water, but didn't really have that. We had people who brought out dogs and that kind of stuff. So it was fun, and I, you know, hope that there'll be more stuff like that in the future. I will say, you know, based off the last report, it doesn't surprise me because I had to show up there at like 4 or 5 a.m. to, you know, set up the stuff. And there are some interesting characters around Hunterman Park. I watched a few business transactions that probably shouldn't have gone on. So at least commerce is still inactive, but you know, it was interesting. But no, it was a good experience, and nobody overdrank. Nobody became the worst version of themselves. I thought it was good overall, and it was well run. So.
Thanks, Troy. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else?
I had the barbecue grill, because mine was in the comments at the very beginning, and I wanted to say thank you to Jamie for responding so quickly. I went and checked on it today. That pan, there's kind of like a pan just sitting there, and I'm still not sure that it's safe enough for the community to use that barbecue grill because their holes are in the bottom, and those.
Which one is it?
It's the Wonderwood Park. It's the one closest to the playground.
The one closest to the playground. Okay.
Yeah, so they have the, you know, the long table.
Yeah.
That barbecue pit right next to that. If
Yeah.
you pull that thing out, that tray, it's
Just-
really, I think it's unsafe. I think it should just be removed until the new one can come in. Because people are still using it and the briquettes are just falling through on the ground. I walked by today and it's still being used and it's coming out the sides.
Oh, okay. So there's just a pan under there?
Yeah, it's got a pan on there, but the whole bottom is just rusted out. I mean, it's
Okay.
totally rusted out. So I did not get in contact back with Jamie about it, but it is really unsafe. It's very it's it just looks like a fire hazard waiting to happen. And as we're getting hotter through the summer, I don't know. I just don't want people to catch their feet on fire or we catch the park on fire.
Okay, I'll
And
send that.
what is where Freddy Krueger lives though. So.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, Troy, if you look at 9H, you will see that there are many other parks in this community that are vandalized with more riffraff than Wonderwood Park. Okay?
Well, and we had a barbecue at Rainier Vista, and Rainier Vista is really hot. It was one of like the hottest day that we had this summer, and yeah, it was still. I don't know if there's enough safety precautions when we're using those grills because I was sitting there watching everybody, and they had a swamp cooler out there, and it was pretty hot, and the grass gets really dry, and people are barbecuing without safety. You know, not bringing a fire extinguisher or. You know, there's not a lot of, or anything to put a fire out if we started one.
Yeah.
So, but that's me. I'm constantly safety it's in my brain all the time. But that one at Wonderwood really should just be taken out. I think the whole side, all the sides are gone off of it and the bottom is completely just big, huge holes in it. So.
Okay, I sent it.
Yeah, it's a little deceiving because all the ash is on the top and then people put their briquettes in there and they're falling through the center of it. So it's pretty bad shape.
All right, well, thank you. Dave, anything?
Nothing.
I as well
Nothing to say.
have nothing. So with that, I will say, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Bye.
Bam, 6:53. Good job, guys.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Sarah, don't forget to lock the front door after everybody
I will
leaves.
not, do not worry.
Thank you. I forgot one time.
Even get it unlocked.